Today I'm going to be making this fixed blade knife. The blade is made from an old metal file and the handle's made from some laburnum wood that I scavenged from a fallen tree. So the reason I'm using a file for the blade is because they're very cheap and very easy to get hold of, and this was an old one that was worn out and it was pretty much useless to me. Files are also made from very high carbon steel, and that means that they can be hardened, and then once they're hardened they hold an edge really well and they're very resistant to wear. On top of that, a file is already hardened when you're using it since you don't want it to be blunted as you're using it. So this knife is already hardened and I don't have to do any heat treating. So that means that the method that I'm using to make the knife today is pretty much the easiest method, since you don't have to mess around with heating up the knife and forging it, and you don't have to heat treat it. So I filmed the first steps of making this knife with my cousin, who's actually a film student at university, and he managed to hire out one of the really expensive Sony cinematography cameras, where the lens costs over £15,000. He took the film that he filmed with me on the first steps of making the knife, and he made a final edit which he's uploaded to his YouTube channel, and it looks really good. It's got really good colour grading and everything, and some good music to it, so you should really go check that out. The link is in the description down below and on screen now, and subscribe to his channel if you want to see some really high quality videos that he does with all of these cameras. It's really good. So let's see how you make the knife. Firstly, I'm going to start cutting out the basic shape of the knife. I do that with an angle grinder with a thin cut-off wheel. Once I've achieved the basic outline, I move on to my belt grinder to start to grind the bevel of the knife. After grinding, it was on to sanding and polishing, using wet and dry paper all the way up to 2000 grit. It was then time for the handle assembly. I attached a guard made of micarta. I'm using this piece of solid laburnum wood for the handle. I use a 2-part epoxy resin to glue it securely onto the handle. Once that's dry, I use woodworking tools to start to shape the handle into the shape that I want. Once I got the shape that I wanted in the handle using the files and rasps, I then moved on to sandpaper and smoothed it all the way up to 2000 grit wet and dry sandpaper. I then oiled it using boiled linseed oil to make the handle grain look really nice. I made a sheath using 3 layers of plywood which were the same thickness as the knife. Each layer had the same outside profile, however the middle layer had the shape of the knife cut out, so that when I sandwiched them together I could slide the knife into the middle. For both strength and a nicer aesthetic, I hammered in some nails along the edges to sort of look like stitching as you'd have in traditional leather sheaths. Then using an angle grinder to cut off the heads of the nails. Once that's done, I oil the knife sheath with boiled linseed oil again, and then give the knife a final sharpen, and it's complete. I'm really pleased with the outcome, and this is one of my favourite knives that I've ever made. But because of the really awesome footage that I got of my cousin, I'm actually going to give it to him for Christmas. I really hope that you've enjoyed this video. It's been a while since I did a knife making video, and this is definitely the most high quality one that I've ever made, considering I got to use a really great camera. If you did enjoy this video, then you might want to consider helping support me on Patreon. You get early access to all of the videos that I produce, and the link is in the description down below if you want to go see more detail on that. If you want more details about some of the things that I'm doing in between when I post projects, then the link is in the description also to my Instagram, where you can see recent updates on things that I'm doing.